Chodesh Tov. I want to dedicate this Dvar Torah to Aliyat Neshama of my father, Shaya Ben Yankel, whose yahrzeit is tomorrow, actually, second half, and also to all the wounded, to the healing of all the wounded, to safe return to soldiers, and to healing of all the families affected by this war.
Amen.
We are now in the 3 weeks period between 17 of Tammuz and 9 of Av. More specifically, now within 9 days. This whole period of 3 weeks is called Bein HaMetzarim, within the straits. It's based on the verse in Megillat Eicha, which we read on Tisha B'Av, and the verse says, "Kol rodfecha resiguha ben hametzarim." All her pursuers overtook her within the straits. This expression refers to the days of affliction, which occurred between 17 of Tammuz and 9 of Av. In this period, many calamities befell the Jewish people throughout the generations, and during this period, both first and second temple were destroyed. Therefore, this period has been dedicated as mourning time for the destruction of the temple. But we know whatever we commemorate and remember in the Jewish tradition is never just history. It has an eternal component. It's important now and always. So this mourning is not a mourning in a regular sense, when you eventually have to make peace with your loss. On the contrary, this is a time to realize how much we miss the Holy Temple as a place of revelation of Hashem truth, as a place of manifestation of Hashem's presence in the world. And this is something that the Dvar Shalom talks about, and is based on teachings of his father. He says it's time to feel how much it's important to us for the temple to be rebuilt and for return of Hashem's presence to us as a nation. But it's also important for us as individuals. On a personal level, it's a time for us also to see how all our personal suffering, all that is lacking in our life as individuals, all this can be understood as a consequence of destruction of the temple, resulting in hiddenness of Hashem's presence. This 3 weeks is most of all the time to yearn and long for rebuilding of the temple, and with it, revelation of Hashem's presence, and returning to the state of closeness of Hashem as people, as a nation. The Dvar Shalom says that this yearning for the temple forms a spiritual foundation for its rebuilding. When a Jewish person feels how much the light that was present in the temple is missing and yearns and longs for its return, this makes a great impression in spiritual realms. And this is forms a beginning for temple rebuilding and our rebuilding as a people as well. In our liturgy, there are many prayers that express that longing, specifically, especially the Musaf prayers for Yamim Tovim. In those prayers, we say, for example, "May it be your will, O merciful King, that you once more be compassionate upon us and upon your sanctuary, and rebuild it soon, and magnify its glory." And we also say, "Our Father, our King, reveal the glory of your kingship upon us. Speedily appear and will be uplifted over us before the eyes of all the living." And also during Shachrit on Shabbat, in Kedusha prayer, we say, "From your place, our King, you will appear and reign over us, for we yearn for you. When will you reign in Zion? Soon in our days forever you will reign there." All these prayers are full of yearning for revelation of Hashem's presence, and especially this yearning is important in these 3 weeks. It doesn't need to be just in the context of formal prayer, but as our personal, spontaneous prayer. It's important to pray for rebuilding of the temple during these 3 weeks and feel this emotion of deep yearning and longing for the building of the temple. There is a Midrash in Eicha Rabbah that says that Mashiach is born on Tisha B'Av. And the Sefer Bnei Yisachar brings many interesting reasons why it says so, why Mashiach is born on Tisha B'Av. I will bring just one explanation from Maharal, from the Sefer Netzach Israel. Maharal gives a way to understand why is it so. He says that before the destruction of the temple, there was no need for Mashiach. It can be compared to an egg. Before the egg is broken, the little bird cannot emerge because there is nothing lacking. The egg is self-sufficient, but as soon as the egg is broken, the little bird can appear. So as soon as the temple is destroyed, there is this new potentiality. But of course, there are many forces trying to prevent coming of Mashiach because the world has many forces of Tuma, of impurity. But in the end, it's totally inevitable and Mashiach will appear. Midrash Tanhuma to Parashat Toldot is talking about Mashiach. And it says there that Mashiach will be a great person, greater than Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov. And he will be exceptional leader, even greater than Moshe. He will bring Jewish people closer to Hashem and closer to each other. And he will defeat the enemies of Jewish people without firing a single shot, simply by the power of truth. And he will be able to do miracles just like Moshe did, because Hashem will be with him. And that will be the source of his power, the power of Hashem. Our sages described the Mashiach in Sanhedrin 93b as having an exceptional quality, which is called Moreach Vada'in. It means he can smell certainties, Vada'in, something that is certain. And what they are discussing in Sanhedrin is several verses in Isaiah 11:3. The verse says, in Isaiah says, that Mashiach Yirat Shamayim, awe of God, will make him able to smell the truth. He will not judge by what his eyes see and by what his ears hear. And the next verse in Isaiah says, he shall judge the destitute with righteousness and decide with justice for the humble of the earth. He shall strike down land with his rod, with the rod of his mouth, and slay the wicked with the breath of his lips. Mashiach will be able to know the truth. He will be able to look into your neshama and know its truth and its beauty and know its struggles. And he will not judge by what he sees, but what is really true. It has been said about Rechov kadosh. He had this quality to look straight into the person's soul and affect it. And one of the first tasks of Mashiach will be rebuilding of the temple. There is also a teaching from Baal Shem Tov that says that Mashiach is a collective soul of Jewish people. He says that every Jewish person has an aspect of Mashiach. And when we refine this aspect, we bring Mashiach closer. So there is a job for each of us to do. And that's what we are doing here in Bas Medrash. Bas Medrash is a great instrument of bringing Mashiach, because here we try to know the truth, to learn Torah, and we try to be, and we are close and supportive of each other. This is definitely an instrument of rebuilding of the temple and bringing the Mashiach. And finally, I want to say that it's important to be able to have a vision of how it will be when the temple will be rebuilt. It's important to have this vision because it also brings closer this time. So we have to envision how the whole world will, how it will be when the whole world will recognize the truth of Torah, when Jewish people will become truly independent, when Sanhedrin will be reinstituted, and there will be true justice, and when nations will come to Jerusalem to seek truth and to seek Hashem, but in the way that is acceptable to Torah. And when we are sent to Jerusalem on Hagim, we'll see a magnificent temple and we hear the singing of Levites. And there will be no mosques there because Muslims will do tshuva and they will ask respectfully to remove their mosque from our holy temple mount. And,
Yeah, that's good. I like that.
yeah, and when we go to Jerusalem and to the temple, we'll have a real experience to be in presence of Hashem. To the extent we don't even understand now. And in conclusion, I want to say with the Chazon and Anu B'Shuvcha Tzion Barachamim, may our eyes behold your return to Tzion with great compassion, and may we be able to use this 9 days to really yearn for rebuilding of the temple in the way that it should make it real, speedily nowadays.
Amen. That was beautiful. Thank you. That was very beautiful. That was very beautiful. Yeah, just stick with that image a little bit of the rebuilt temple. Right? Imagine it. It's not different from the first and second. Okay, I'm sure it will be, and it'll be beautiful. It'll be beautiful, and we'll enjoy going there every 3 times a year at least. And we look forward to it in our lifetimes. Yad. Amen. Okay, so all right, we're continuing our study of laws of carrying, laws of Shabbos, and I don't know if you're happy to know this, but we're getting close to the end. So it's a 10-year effort. So it had to end at some point. It has to come to an end. Okay, so if you remember last week we spoke about the idea of an eruv chatzerot, that even though an area might be enclosed, you still are required to make some kind of an eruv. It's a mitzvah, and that would be by putting some food and saying a bracha in one place, that this food belongs to everybody. So you're sort of making one big happy family. That's the idea. My house is your house is my house. I can go in and take whatever I want, whenever I want, coming over tomorrow, and I'm just taking whatever I want. Not really, but it's symbolically joining together. That's what eruv means, a joining together, an amalgamation of everything within this courtyard. Okay, so and it also, it's a little bit confusing because you would think that you walk into a building, it's got a roof, it's got walls, it appears to be, but it's not. So particularly things, I'll give you just a bunch of examples of different things. So an apartment complex, that is the example of where you need to create this. You need to put the food together so that you can use all the common spaces in this building. If there happen to be in this building people who are not Jewish, I'm like thinking of my apartment in Washington Heights many years ago. And there's one of the neighbors made a neighbor, but meanwhile there are non-Jews, there were non-religious Jews, and so you have to. It's not just enough to make this eruv; you also have to do some kind of a rental agreement so that you're allowed to use this common space. Same thing with a 2-family dwelling. As long as there are 2 families together, it requires some kind of eruv to be able to use the common space. Okay, so what about hotels? So this really helps define what the criteria are. So the fact is that in a hotel, guests eat in a common kitchen. They're only temporary residents, and the hotel management has appliances or furniture or whatever, heavy things. So those are really the cases which make it so that you do not need to have an eruv. It means your status in being in a hotel is a guest, right? And how do you know this? Well, the landlord owns all the hotel owner owns all the stuff. They can come in at any time. They do, right? There's someone who has a key, comes to make your bed in the morning. You eat in a dining room. It's not like there's anything that's your personal anything really there, and your stay there is temporary. Okay, the same thing is true with the hospital, right? It's the nature of it is that it's hopefully very temporary, and you kind of people are in and out. A yeshiva dormitory. Nobody who lives, nobody makes it their home. It's not their home, right? There's, they eat in a common dining room. They don't own the stuff. They're kids. They don't, and so everything that's there really belongs to the Hanala, and they're considered temporary residents. So the way in those cases, you do not need to have an Eruv. You only need to have an Eruv where you have a situation where you have the appearance of multiple families living together, taking from a Reshus HaRabim and bringing it to Reshus HaYachid. And that's what this whole thing is about, trying to avoid. Okay, so we're gonna just quickly move on to a new topic, and that is Tchum Shabbos. Tchum Shabbos, okay, which basically means the boundaries. And this is actually, I didn't know about this for many, many years. It never came up in Syracuse, I guess. Tchum Shabbos is a mitzvah d'oraisa, in case we didn't know. And essentially, to sum it up, if you decide you want to walk to Meron for Shabbos, you can't. Okay, that's about it. Okay. No, there are certain boundaries that have been established. Okay, the pasuk, we read the pasuk. It says, "Shuvu ish tachtav." Okay, so a person should remain in their place. Al yatzei ish mimkamo biyom hashvi. That a person shouldn't go from their place on Shabbos. So, I've often thought, I've really thought about it in this context. Somebody whose car breaks down on a highway and they can't possibly go, and they're like right on the, I don't know, I forget all the names of the roads. Some major highway in New York City, and they have to get off the road and they have to go knock on a door, and they hope there's some Jew who's going to take them in. And you sit there and you wonder, why, Hashem? Why did you make this? Why did you do this to me? The point is, this is where Hashem placed you. This is where Hashem wants you to be on this Shabbos. This is the place. We have a Tchum Shabbos. Hashem is saying, this is it. No walking to Meron. This is where you can go. And there are certain limitations that are. So first of all, people have their own personal space, which is actually defined by 4 amos. Right? We talked about that in the context of carrying. If you like discover you have something, remember you're supposed to walk back and forth within 4 amos, which is approximately 4 amos, about 2 meters. So it's pretty restricted. But the idea of Tchum Shabbos is actually extended, and you get 2,000 amos. Okay, so that's also not that far. I think it's what does he say? It's 0.6 of a mile. So it's not really such a permanent space.
So the last house in the.
Well, I'm just gonna get to that. Thank you. Okay, so it doesn't mean from this border, because that's what it is. This border does not begin from your house. It begins from the end of whatever is settled in your town, and it has nothing to do with which municipality, right? Like there's certain areas in Jersey, I guess other places, right? You can just walk from town to town to town to town to town to town, and you've never gone past the Tchum. It's constant. It's civilization. There's house after house. So even though you're in a different city, it doesn't matter. That's not really the issue. As long as the area is civilized, it's populated, there's not too much space between houses, then you're allowed. Then that would be the Tchum would not begin until the end of civilized developed space.
Where would that be? Let's say, for example,
yeah.
So where the fuck to stop?
Yeah. Like I think somebody who lives in North Canary could probably not walk to Tzfat for main Tzfat on Shabbos. Somebody who walks to Beria, I don't know. It's pretty
flat. It's pretty settled. There's always something.
right on
There's
the
always
that
a
big
house
road.
in
There's something. Yeah. So that's probably.
It's not that part totally where we live in Hartnan, that going into the yard there, that is a problem. From where we live on-
Yeah.
And there's my friend spoke to Yahoo about it. I'm unsure about, but tensions like usually walks the yard there. It's very fun.
Okay. By the way, this has nothing to do with carrying, right? It's a whole different. There's a whole different. I mean, we're learning it here because I think this is where you wanted to put it. But I mean, it doesn't really specifically. You could be walking with completely empty pockets, and you get to the end of this home, and you can't go any further. And as a matter of fact, if you by mistake walk outside of the home, you are stuck for all of Shabbos. Really, you're stuck there. I mean. So if you have certain needs, then that kind of overrides it. But basically, I mean, like if you have to go to the bathroom, so okay, then you can walk in, but then you walk to a place and then you're stuck there for the rest of Shabbos.
But how would you how would you have the knowledge that I've gotten to the end of Tchum? Because you don't see any houses? Because what?
Well, right. How would you? Well, so that would be the first hint, right? Like if you get to a place with okay, and then from there, so I don't know. Do you know what a half a mile is? It's half a mile, 6/10 of a mile. Past that, that's how you have to know exactly. You have to know. Yes.
I just wanted to share that my daughter had to have an emergency delivery, and on the other side of the country where I live, and I could fly almost the whole time there. It was a short amount of time that. And the law was because of home shops there that I was not planning lots of shops.
I mean, when you took off,
I was not shops.
it was not Shabbos,
Right.
but you would have been driving.
Right.
Came Shabbos.
And
Wow.
because of the home shops.
Wow.
Even though she there.
And when you landed, it was not Shabbos. It would not have been Shabbos.
It would have been shops.
It would have been Shabbos.
Yeah. But it wasn't because it would have been shops. The flying was considered
Ma'ayan
the
ma'od.
home shops. Yeah.
Very interesting.
I did not go.
Yeah, okay. Right. By the way, yeah, Shane.
It worked out.
Olivia is a temporary summer resident, but she and her late husband have been emissary of California for umpteen years, and they also spent over 20 years.
37, it's my 37.
Yeah.
37th year in the spot.
Yeah,
And,
summer.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
very
got
good.
to know her. His husband is Schwartzy.
Right. Thank you very much. Now, Shane, what did you want to add?
Victoria, so one day we had some of our fans visiting, and they were kind of young, they were like 9, 4, 11 that age, and they wanted to go out. I knew that was where that would end, and they weren't sure about the Shabbos. I said, complicated the day. I said, okay, well, push it down 2,000 a month. And we bought that car, and then face, but what else? So I had these kids boost at me like this. They weren't going, and then they got there and they said, can we walk around in that area? I said, I really don't know. Let's
Okay, so the point is you actually can. It's 2,000 amos in any direction. So essentially you have a circle around the outer edge of the city. And if I could, did you finish? I just have one more point I want to add. Okay, so just one more point. There are places like rural places or suburbs where they have such big pieces of land that actually it might be that between the houses it's more than the tomb. So even though it's like you're still in the city and you go a little further, there might be a store, but you've gotten to a piece of land where the houses are so far apart that essentially is considered to be unsettled land. So okay, that is it, and that is all. There's more. There's more. We'll get to it. Yeah. Okay. All right. Some announcements. First of all, we're in a very safe place. This is like 10 feet walls, 10 feet, 7 foot thick walls. Okay, chas v'shalom, something will happen. Just stay away from windows, get near a big thick wall. We'll be fine. And we'll all be fine because we have this kippah of Hashem protecting us. And I think it's a kippah of chesed and ahava, that we love each other, we take care of each other, and I think that protects us all the time. I mean, thank God we have not had terrible things happening, and I don't hear the planes anyways. I hear nothing. More? No. No, more. What more? Actually, I don't really want to come to your house. Okay, so all of our teachers, Baruch Hashem, Shana is back with us. Welcome to her. All of our classes will take place. Baruch Hashem. At 12:30, Esther Dickstein will be speaking about the Haftorah, the Haftorah that's normally read before. There's always read, I think, before Tisha B'Av, and her topic is seeing double. And Shabbat Chazon, vision of the prophet of Yeshaya. So that will be very interesting. Okay, we also have classes. We will have class next week, but it'll be a shortened day. We'll finish it because, as you all know, the fast begins next Monday night, and it starts at sunset, and it continues until the next evening. So it's one of those. So we'll be, and we're going to have, right, Tanya, we're going to have good food that's good for fasting, and everybody will get their personal bottle of water.
Lots of meat.
Oh, meat. Okay. Meat. Okay.
Yeah.
I just read something just like some customers this week. So it's a book.
We can hear you.
So it's
21 days.
It's like the pastor was like to Bishvat this last year. Tisha B'Av. So Tisha B'Av will be like
Okay. All right. So that's Monday. Okay. Starting on Tuesday morning. So we have our annual. Pass these around. I forgot. Do we have our annual Tu B'Shvat? Tu B'Shvat. You put it in my head. Put it in my head. I want it to be. Tisha B'Av learning. Okay, we're starting a little later than usual. We're starting at 10 as they're davening here and doing keynotes here. So if anybody would like to hear keynotes, you could come here earlier and participate in the keynotes that are being said here. But our program will begin at 10. So we have at 10 is Riva will be speaking, at 11 Lana will be speaking, Lana Trachman, and at 12 Rivkah Kaplan will be speaking. And then that'll be till about 1, and then at 1:15, we're going to have a presentation of as usual, the Chafetz Chaim Foundation. Not yet.
So if anyone has.
Anybody have a projector? Yeah, I'll ask again. Okay, so if not, we'll be watching our computer. Okay, you're a great woman. Yeah, you're on it. Malka's on the job. Thank you also to Malka for like schlepping all these 10 cases of water. She's our water girl. She's the water. I mean, she has a little help from her friends, but and as long as I'm thanking, I just want to thank Maya, who does the email every week. Okay, she I bless her every Motzei Shabbos that I'm not sitting there doing this job, and I thank her very sincerely. And of course, also thank you to all the people who prepare food every week and get here bright and early, and really there's a lot of love. They put it into, and of course, thank you to all of our teachers and instructors and people who lead. I can't imagine what this learning program would be without people who've been teaching for so many years and dedicated so many years of their efforts and their energy and their wisdom to making us. It's early, so I mean I might as well just go on. That's how I figure it. So we have to. That's it. That's it. It's only going to be Miriam. Will the video be shown on another day? Where's Miriam? Miriam, they don't know. They don't know. Apparently, the committee will discuss it and decide.
We don't have it yet. Once we have it.
Right. Okay, so just to tell you a little bit about it, it's called Together We're Unbreakable. And it's featuring Rabbi Yaakov Bender, Rabbi Pesach Krohn, Rabbi Yisachar Frand, Charlie Harari, and Michael Rothschild. Okay, so that, and there's a fee for that class of 20 shekels, please. Okay, speaking of money, so here's the box for the soldiers. And of course, it's the beginning of the month, time to pay your dues for the Bas Medrash. And even though it's not a full month, but the fee, you know, what everybody pays monthly does not really come close to covering our costs. So everything is predicated on people paying every single month, even if we're not spending money. So, but anyways, thank you. I didn't thank you again to Rivkah for sponsoring breakfast. I'll just mention it again. It's in memory of her father, Shaya Ben Yankel, whose yahrzeit is tomorrow. So appreciate your generosity and your support. Okay, did I leave? Oh, when we start again? Okay, so next week will be our last week, and then we're going to be off. And mark this in your calendars. The Bas Medrash will start again on September 9th. It's a Monday. So you'll know, it's a Monday. September 9th. So that's after, it's a few days into Rosh Chodesh Elul. And I hope to be living in a new house at that time. There's Hashem. Thank you.
I have an announcement.
Make an announcement.
So Baruch Hashem, no one knows that my daughter's engaged. It's clear that her father's side will not help in any way. And so I'm trying to, flex her a way and take for myself. Okay, and then I also flex for single mothers in Spot that are too embarrassed to ask for help. At the same time, like two different things. I'm really helping. I have these women that really doesn't even have a home. She's staying somewhere temporarily, and she needs to get back. And another one is just want to get back.
We all. Okay, thank you very much. So, what should people do if they want to